So we're in the mood for something simple tonight. A little simple three-legged stool. Stick around. All right, welcome to the shop here in beautiful downtown Canterbury. Actually, we're in the woods, but who's finding us anyway? But thanks for being here. Thanks for spending a little time with us in the shop tonight. We have a very special evening because not only am I making this little simple stool, but we have joining us a live studio audience.
Yeah!
Woo! Raucous.
Sounds like 90 people are here.
They are out of control. All right, well, we're glad you're here too. And what I wanted to do tonight was just dial it back a little bit. We're always so intense with the high-end furniture we're stressing out about, right? So let's make something simple for a change. We've been intense this week. We actually have a group of 6 students here that are making this round chair. So check this out.
I'm with you.
Okay, it looked like you were still over there.
I was.
You were. It's like,
to be honest, yes.
So this round chair, it's like, this is really probably the most complex course that we try to do in 5 days here. There's no real straight lines. We've got all these curved lines. Let me take the seat out for you just to get a quick look at it. You know, even this is a bow front. We have a laminated round seat rail, these curved and pillowed back legs and pillowed curved front legs into a stack like brick-laid laminate armrests. It's all shaped, and it's a lot for a week, as our guests have found out this week. But we are having a lot of fun, and I thought it'd be fun to tone it back a little bit and share with you a little project I had on the side. I just cooked this up just in my spare time today. Actually, I made this stool as part of a local town event. We have the Canterbury Fair every year, the last Saturday in July, right? Mm-hmm. And I was in a tent and I was showing kids how to use spoke shaves and all that fun stuff. And I thought it'd be fun to actually be making a stool. So we gave away a few of these stools that we were making that day. And thanks go out to Goose Bay Lumber, because they are our good friends, and they actually donated all the white pine for this, and I had a blast making them. But
yes,
I haven't shown you yet, so I thought it'd be fun. It was just a kick to just make a simple stool. I want to give you just a crash course. I'll show you some of the methods I use to get to a certain point, and then I'll pick it up from there, and we'll see if we can finish this. So this is the way the legs were before, when I brought them to that little event. And I prepped them, obviously, because I didn't want to be doing everything. I didn't have a lathe there as well. But in order to speed it along, I wanted to pre-make the legs, and I had these seat blanks pre-made when I went. Now the blanks are, for you who are taking notes and want to make one of these, 11.5 diameter. And the thickness, I think they ended up being, 1.75 inches. And that's just a solid pine seat blank. White pine is a blast to work with. And a lot of the traditional Windsor chairs and whatever had seats like this. So it was really a lot of fun to make it. But I wanted to quickly have a jig to knock these out. So I'm not a big stool maker, okay? But I had to look up what is the appropriate angle for the leg to come out of the stool, so you got enough splay, but not too much, without having stretchers down here for that additional support. And it turned out I ended up settling on what seemed the best was 12 degrees. So rather than tilting my drill press to 12 degrees, which would be too simple. I had to make a little jig, 12 degrees, of course. So this is my 12-degree jig. What actually was nice about this is I didn't have to fiddle with the angle on my jig. I just ripped these little wedges at 12 and then glued them and nailed them to this little 3/4 inch panel. And this is all nice and square. So I had like a center line. I just set up the drill press with a 1-inch Forstner bit to come right down on that center line. And this was square to the front of the table. So with my little template that was marking my 120 degrees around the 3 points, I was able to just mark the bottom of the seat blanks, set them on here. I just had a guideline right there, and I would bore one, turn it over. Sorry, this is the boring part of the show.
We all need to just sigh.
That's a dad joke if you ever heard one. All right, so this is the second, and I would just spin it, and I just quickly drilled them all just by making a little pinhole with this. So that made quick work of getting the seat blanks ready. And then I actually power dished this out. So I'm sorry for you traditionalists, I did not grab the scorp and start like hand hewing it out, but I actually cheated a little bit. I'll show you, I'm not gonna do it, but I used my, my angle grinder with the Arbortech, and that thing is crazy, kind of dangerous, but fun to use. You just kind of sweep it in little circles, and I don't know, how much depth did I actually get on that? I have to see. It's almost like a piano stool, you know, the old ones, but it's about 3/8 deep. I know, I'm having a look at it too. It's about 3/8 deep in the middle, maybe a touch more. And I just eyeballed that with this, and then this was a little rough, so I finished shaping with this cut saw. So this is the medium cut saw. It's really a nice tool. It's literally a power rasp. And this is beautiful because it doesn't catch, and you can just remove a lot of material quickly, but then it still leaves a rough surface. So I finished with a palm sander. Actually, I think I used the, what's this called? Rotex, yeah, Rotex by Festool. But anyway, that's how I prepped the blanks. But the last thing I did was I gave it a little round over. It's not quite a 3/4 inch round over, but I used a bit like this. So here's a 3/4. Yeah, it is a 3/4 inch round over I used. So I just wanted to round under the bottom, and then for the top I used this thumbnail cutter to just softly round the edge like that. So I just quickly spun those out, and then I had a pretty nice blank relatively quickly. So once I had those, I had to get the legs ready, and all I did was rip some of the white pine stock into an octagonal piece long enough to make a stool that sits about a little over 18 inches with that 12-degree splay. So this is not a milking stool. If you would like a milking stool, you can cut off the legs a little bit. I'm not sure. I mean, how many of you are milking these days anyway? I thought it would be more utilitarian and useful to make it about 18 inches high, which is typical of your regular chair height. It's maybe a little higher. So it's not maybe your typical guitar stool or workbench stool, but it's great to sit and put your shoes on and whatever else you can think of. I don't know. But I think it'll be a great little stool to kick around the house, and we'll figure out some ways of using it. But anyway,
cool.
Yeah. So I got the legs were octagonal, but I had to get the tenons on. Now, I could have turned them all, but it takes time to turn the tenons. You want to get those as close to 1 inch without spending a lot of time, and that's where you can fuss a little bit. And so I actually used an advanced technique with this tenoner it's a round tool. This is by Veritas. And once I had the octagon, I turned very quickly a little rounded end so that when it came in, this tool is spinning and it's like a giant pencil sharpener. See that edge right there? So it just takes all the material and it funnels it in until it gets into the inner part of the column there. And instead of grinding it to a point like a pencil, it gives you the exact diameter you set this to. So here it is spinning, and it cut it to exactly a 1-inch diameter, which matches the pre-drilled holes. So I had those done quickly. I actually put a little stop in there so it would cut it the right length as well. And then I went and quickly from that point, I turned these on the lathe down to 1 1/8 inches, and I just got them round up here. Now you might be saying, well, that looks stupid. Why do you have that thing? Well, I'm not done yet. I wanted to make them interesting, and with the kids, have them shave and treat these surfaces like the old ones might have been, like so it looked truly spoke shaved. And a spoke shave is a wonderful tool, especially to introduce kids to. It's actually probably my favorite hand tool because of the freehand nature of it, and it's very creative to use. So let me show you how we work the spoke shave.
Tom, before you go on, I've got a timely question.
Okay.
Whoopi's asking, any safety tips on using such a huge roundover router bit on such a circumference, i.e. avoiding tear out on the end grain of the circumference?
You can make it in a couple passes, right? But actually, how did I do it? You can bury it a little bit. Actually, I did it on the table, on the router table, and I'm trying to remember. I think I might have just gone for it in one shot and done like a light pass first, spinning it. But you definitely want one of those pivot points or starter pins in your router table to introduce the piece to the bit. You don't want to just jam it in there when you're freehanding because it'll catch and want to pull. And you could set it lower first and take just a partial cut, then increase until you get the full depth. So the last cut is lighter and it's not as grabby, and you're less likely to get tear out that way too. It's surprising though, you look at this, there's no tear out on these. On some I did get a little bit, but I don't like that. That's not how we're leaving it. This looks so machined, right? We want to try to create a more traditional looking stool without all that tradition. So all that there tradition. So anyway, we're gonna get there by using a spoke shave. So we will treat these surfaces with traditional tools, but we're not doing the whole thing in that Roy Underhill way. I'm sorry, Roy. We've been talking and thinking about Roy a lot today. But all right, so let me just get a quick measure here. Talk amongst yourselves. There we go. All right, 1 1/8 inches. All right, so what I did was, what I want to do, if you look, this seat is the first thing we want to deal with. I just want to do a little bit to this to show you how I'll treat it. It looks machined, right? This underside is so round and heavy. I want to give this seat blank a lighter look. So I can keep it 1 3/4 inches and give it a lighter look if I just undercut the edge, the bottom edge here. And if I had other bits, you could use other bits to make it more so, but here's where the spoke shave can be a real blast, especially on white pine. So I'm just gonna make a guideline here. This is about an inch. I'm gonna come close to the hole, about 1/8 inch away from the hole. And I should say these are 2 inches in from the end from the top, okay? If you want to play along at home, if you want to try this at home, it's 2 inches in from this edge on the top. So you have to kind of calculate that on your sled. So that's how I set the little tip sled. Now I want to round this over more, so I'm going to just make a guideline, just holding my finger kind of as a fence. And this is starting to look traditional, right? This looks old school. And then on the top, I wanted to, let's see, what did I do there? I have to figure out what I did on this thing, actually. On the top, I wanted to knock this edge down too. This is just a little too hard. We'll just take it down a little bit as well. So I'm just gonna give it, I'm sorry, let me go this way. I'll treat this one first. My bad. I'm gonna I want the edge to look thinner from the top. I won't do much to this, but I do want to come over about 5/8 of an inch from here. And let's get a line right there, okay? So 5/8 from the top. I can just quickly knock this out. Again, you don't need a perfect measurement because I'm doing this. But look, it is perfect. All right, so here we go. Now we're going to use our spoke shave, and this is a very traditional tool. This is the Stanley 51. We've had a lot of fun with this week, haven't we? Live studio audience, okay. All right, so we're gonna take this down and we wanna undercut this more. So let me do a little bit here. Now I have to be careful about grain direction. The grain is running this way and it's coming out this surface. So I wanna come this way with my cut. Then when I cut this section, I want to go that way so I don't tear into the grain. So let's just get it into the vise. Bring it up. And this is set fairly aggressively, but not aggressively enough. So let's bring it out a little more. You'll be amazed how much it can remove material.
Would you consider a draw knife in this case, Tom?
Not really. I mean, you could use a draw knife, but there we're getting really primitive. Let me just try that. That's not a bad suggestion. But this is less control. You notice? There's no sole, right? This has a sole so you can set the thickness of the blade cut. This operates on the bevel, so the angle of bevel is what you get. So you could go like that. It's more of a crude tool, right? You probably think I'm wrecking it, but I'm not quite getting there. But that isn't as controlled. So I'm going to use the spoke shave. So I can work this section. This is like Roy Underhill all of a sudden. What is going on? All right, here we go. I didn't expect that. Here we go. Isn't that awesome? I mean, how easy that is. See, now right here, I'm into end grain, so I can shear it a little bit. I'm also smelling that pine, like it's a little bit, they call this fat wood when it's got more of the terps in it. And okay, so I've got that set pretty heavy. I could go to a finer spoke shave if I wanted to finish it a little cleaner. That's it. So I'll just take it down to my guidelines there and look at the difference. So if you hold this, this is my unfinished, but as I come around to the undercut, it looks much lighter. And if you feel it, you feel the texture of the tool. Where do you want me to go?
Hold it up. Hold it.
Okay, okay. So let's do that again. See the edge? Mm-hmm. As you come around.
That's great. Thanks.
All right, so I'm not going to pull away on the hill and try to do this whole thing. That's it. That's it for this disc. But I wanted you to get the sense of what you can do to dress this up, to give it a traditional look by starting out with power tools and then going to that method. So you could do a little bit on the top, but I kind of like that thumbnail. I'm going to just leave it. If I was going to do anything to try to treat it, I would just come with a thin spoke shave and just shape it a little bit to take it out of the, you know, the perfect machine shape. And then we can turn our attention to the legs. So very similarly, I want to take this into a faceted, spoke shaved piece of work. So we've got, I left this, why did I leave that? I left this octagonal just because, I can't remember why.
Design element?
I guess just to show maybe that it was octagonal ones. I could have turned it the whole way. All I did was want to turn it, I forget, it was something about the lathe. But regardless, I'm going to quickly turn that or take that away with the spoke shave. So I'll take that aggressive one again. And I just want to knock that off. I'm going to lean into it a little bit here. See, I'm getting against the grain right here, so come with it. Rotate.
I think you were thinking the kids might enjoy doing some
I'll show you what they really liked.
shaping.
No, they really liked spoke shaving when I had these legs like the way I'm about to show you in a second. They like just spoke shaving things in the vise, to be honest.
And the saws, they liked cutting.
Yeah. But this always reminds me of my days as a youth. Peeling carrots.
And potatoes?
Yeah. My mother used to put a little note on the refrigerator and say, peel the carrots for dinner. And it wasn't bad. The potatoes were tough though. Anyway, look at this, how easy it is with this finer spoke shave to create a nice textured surface there. Right, let's get rid of all the marks other than this tool. So I could put it in that other vise, but I think I'll just stay here so you can see me better, what I'm doing. Okay, I'll go back to the other one. All I want to do is texture this, okay? I'm just trying to get the old texture on it. Now we'll go to the finer. All right, I'm going into the grain a little there, so I'll go back this way. Let's turn this around. Whoops. That feels pretty good. I think I can finish this by hand this way. This is kind of a light. This really feels like the carrots now. Okay, so that's pretty crude, right? But we want to leave it with the tool marks. So if you could feel this, there's all these nice little facets and the look of the hand tool as if it were hand hewn. And that's done. Now I'm ready to glue it in. So let's take a stool that I already did the whole edge. So see, I've undercut the edge of this one already, so it's looking thinner. And it's already got the tool marks all around. And I already did two legs, which have been also faceted. So we're ready to put in this leg. Let's give it a test and see what it looks like. Not bad. Now, I'm going to glue it in, and we're going to drive in these little maple wedges. So these will go into this curve cut, and I'll drive it, and it will lock that tenon in. And with the glue, that won't be coming out in our lifetime. So what I want to do is cut that tenon a little shorter so that this wedge will be making, getting deeper into the cut, closer to the surface. So let me just get my Japanese saw. Let's take a little, we'll just eyeball this. Okay, that's about where we want to be. Now the next thing is we want to think about the wedge orientation. This is a class in college, actually, wedge orientation 101. This one, you notice that the wedge or this curve cut, I don't know if you can see the grain on this, but the grain on this leg is running roughly perpendicular to that curve cut. So that's typical when you have a splayed leg like that. That's more the strength of the piece as you go out. The grain, the wood grain, the annual rings are running perpendicular or radially from the seat, okay? But the wedge is going to be always driven so it puts pressure and spreads into end grain. So you see we have this end grain here. So we can get this wedge to spread that tenon into the end grain on both sides. Now you might say, well, you didn't do that on the other ones. They look like they're 45 degrees. Well, you're right, I didn't. But they are into end grain. As this is good practice because the grain of the leg is running radially from the center as well. So that's how we think about that in each case. Now, with this one, I want to just position it and say, okay, I want that curve cut to be running basically perpendicular to the grain here, and our grain on our leg is running out this way. So I'll make a little pencil mark so I don't have to think about it when we get the glue. Let's get some glue in there. I'm just going to do this quickly. We've got our little glue bottles here. Epic Woodworking glue bottles, $14.99. No, just kidding. But wait, there's more. All right, no. You can get a glue bucket and throw in some dirty rags. All right, we're gonna just get this around that mortise. So instead of spreading it with a stick in this case, I don't usually do this, but I'm just gonna use the nozzle. There we go, beautiful. And now we'll put a little glue on the tenon as well. Not so much because a lot of times it gets squeezed out anyway. So I just want more of a glaze on this. And I'll just use a little stick to get it glazed. Okay, beautiful. Let's put it in and we'll get it oriented like we planned. So that's fully seated, and I'll twist it to see that pencil mark line up. That's pretty good right there. Get that perpendicular. Actually, I want to get my curve cut. That's good enough right there. Nice and tight. And now we'll get the wedge. Let's put a little glue on the wedge. Actually, we can just use this, huh? How cheap are you? Well, I have to use the glue from my squeeze out for my wedges. All right, there we go. I'm going to get this on there. And there we go. So I could put a little bit in the slot too, right? We'll make sure this wedge never comes out. I don't think there's much chance anyway, but there we go. This is 1 inch wide as well, so it'll go right out to the full width. Get our little camera. And you can hear it when it's done. It just gets that really hard crack sound. So now we've got to just clean off that glue, and we're almost in business. We just have a couple other things to do. We got a little putty knife. Get rid of some of this. Now normally you'd let this set a little bit before cutting it off, you know, but I'm going to cut all this off right now. And I've got a little bit down here, not too bad. Look at under there. Doesn't that look traditional with the way that's hewn? This, by the way, was hand planed as well. You can see the facets. Are you picking those up on the facets on these legs?
Yes.
And now we'll get, just going to get some of this glue up in here. Okay, that's good. Every time I do this, I think of that skit on Saturday Night Live.
Which one is that?
They did it. Oh, I forget the guy who did Joe. Not the guy who imitated Joe Piscopo. What was his name? Anyway, I probably shouldn't go into it. It's kind of. All right. Anyway, here we go. We've got our tenons sticking out. I want to trim these. So I'll just lightly trim these close. I'll just use the Japanese saw and get it kind of floating slightly above. I want to try not to cut into the seat. Okay, that's pretty close. Let's do this one. I'm going to get these flush. Let's do this one.
Tom, David's curious, how long can you go with the legs and how much splay before you need stretchers?
I don't know. I wish I could tell you that. I just don't know.
Oops.
How far can you walk backwards before you need a stretcher? All right.
It wasn't even a wire, it was just my feet.
All right, so now we're gonna just pare this a little. Let's see how sharp my chisel is. This is a test for, I don't think I'm gonna do too much of this. Let's see. Let's try it with the spoke shave. I don't think I'm not gonna attempt that. Let's try it with the power grinder.
No.
No, I'm gonna use, watch, I do wanna sand this off a little bit. Let's go with the Rotex. We have to have some power tools for the
Okay.
kids. All right, here we go. I'm gonna just hold my knee on
Everybody
it.
hold your ears.
This has a vacuum on it, so everyone, you're safe. Here we go. What is that? Hang on, I'm gonna do a little more. All right. So I would take hand sandpaper and then hit it and break these edges slightly. You could be rustic and try the scorp on there, but I was using the Rotex, and when I was first using it, I thought I had it on the aggressive setting. These are amazing, by the way. If you are into having a power sander, has two settings. One is like direct drive, and it will really grind away quickly. And when I set it back on that, those went down very quickly. But the last thing I want to do with the stool is level the feet. If you look closely down here, you can see that I'm really just leaning on the inside edge of each foot. So it's not really sitting flat on the floor. So we can do something about that pretty quickly if we just set this little piece of 1/4 inch MDF down flat. And I'm going to use this Japanese saw. Let's see, maybe this isn't the best. Let me try a different one. I'll use this one. Here's the Rubo? I forget the name of this one. So this is just a flat saw. I'm going to just use it resting on the 1/4 inch MDF. I really am feeling out of breath. I think I'm I think I'm getting payback for talking about Roy Underhill. Here we go. Here we go. Beautiful. Look at that. Nice and flush. Now it drops to the floor, and look how flat it's sitting.
Nice.
Perfect. All right, so there it is. No, that's not it. All right. We've got a problem because the other two are still high. So we're going to slide a piece of MDF under there to get it back up to the 1/4 inch. And now we'll hit this one. There you go.
Smarty.
And now we've got the same issue. So we just happen to have another piece of 1/4 inch MDF. Slide that under there, and we'll get the last of the legs. Let's bring it over here. These Japanese saws are amazing. They cut on the pull stroke very quickly. But check this out now. We move those aside, and we've got 3 legs that are sitting now flat on the floor. So the last thing I would do there is get some sandpaper and just break these edges a little bit so they don't catch up. But I won't worry about that now. And there you have it, a finished 3-legged stool. But it's not finished until you sit in it, right? So let's try it. I'm gonna tie my shoes.
Mr. Rogers.
What else am I gonna do? I guess you could practice guitar on this, right? You're low enough.
Tom, could an oscillating sander do what that tool did?
Yes, but a little slower with an aggressive setting. I mean, we're on the end grain of the white pine. That was what I was on. I was on the Rotex oscillating setting, and then they have the, what's the other one called? Someone pitch in and say what it's called.
Kutzall?
What?
Kutzall?
No, the setting for the,
Oh.
for that sander, the Rotex, is actually like an aggressive, it's like direct drive or something. But that, my friends, is a fun, simple project, and you can do it just like Roy Underhill. He had to have done stools like this. I'm sure he did, but he was better than me. He could do it all with hand tools and under 30 minutes with very little blood. So, well, if you enjoyed that content, please consider subscribing, of course, and sharing and liking and all that fun stuff. Also, check out the courses we have on epicwoodworking.com. We've got a lot. You could actually make this chair. Not this stool yet, I'm sorry. But lots of other chairs, tables, whatever. And I just love sharing the craft with you. and just, it's as if we're hanging out in the shop together. So thanks also for hanging out with us in the shop tonight, and for our special guests, our live studio audience. What a crowd, what a crowd. They have been amazing.
Yes.
All right, so thank you so much for being here on behalf of the camera lady and myself. We look forward to seeing you next time, right back here on Shop Night Live.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh. That was